This is what happens when a brilliant programmer creates the world's most advanced AI, but there is a dark secret behind his invention. He soon finds that the very machine that he has designed to serve humanity now has its own mind and can think, feel, and even manipulate humans. This is the story of the 2015 sci-fi thriller, Ex Machina. Enjoy the recap.
Ava! Go back to your room!
If I do, are you ever gonna let me out?
Stop. Whoa.
The film opens inside a cutting-edge tech company called Blue Book, where a young programmer named Caleb Smith has just won a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a week-long visit to the luxurious private estate of the company's mysterious CEO, Nathan Bateman. Excited but nervous, Caleb is congratulated by his coworkers before being flown by helicopter to Nathan's remote property, which is hidden deep in the wilderness. The pilot drops him off in the middle of nowhere and tells him to follow the river to reach the building. Caleb eventually walks through the forest until he arrives at the building, which is an isolated, simple building from the outside, but at the entrance, Caleb is surprised to find a futuristic scanner that generates a personal keycard for him, giving him access to the facility. Inside, he's met with glass walls, sleek design, and a silence that feels almost unsettling. Moments later, he finally meets Nathan, the genius mind behind Blue Book. Nathan's casual and confident demeanor immediately stands out as he gives Caleb a brief tour of the estate. Caleb is then shown to his room, which will be his accommodation for the week. But something feels off. The room has no windows. However, Nathan explains that this isn't just a home and that it doubles as a high-security research facility and that the walls are made of fiber optics. Before revealing more, Nathan makes Caleb sign a strict non-disclosure agreement, warning him that what he's about to see is confidential. Nathan then asks if Caleb knows what the Turing test is. Caleb explains that he knows that it is a way to determine whether an artificial intelligence can exhibit human-like behavior. On hearing this, Nathan reveals that Caleb's purpose here is to be the human component of that test. This immediately leaves Caleb intrigued and thrilled at the very idea that Nathan has developed an AI individual. So he eagerly agrees. In his first session, Caleb meets Ava, who is a humanoid robot with a strikingly human face, hands, and feet, but has a transparent, mechanical body. She's intelligent, graceful, and curious, and as they begin to talk, Caleb is instantly captivated by her presence. Meanwhile, Nathan monitors their interaction through hidden cameras while taking notes. So, Caleb starts testing Ava's intelligence with complex questions, and he is instantly amazed by how natural her responses feel. In the end, he reports back to Nathan, describing how advanced her language and emotional understanding seem. After listening with satisfaction, Nathan casually asks how Caleb feels about Ava. That is when Caleb admits that she's impressive, perhaps more than he had expected, and the two men share drinks that evening, while discussing her design and potential improvements. That night, Caleb struggles to sleep. Out of boredom, he turns on the TV in his room where he discovers that it's connected to surveillance feeds from around the house. One of them shows Ava, who is sitting quietly in her room and sketching at her desk, almost like a real human. Suddenly, the power goes out and red emergency lights flood the building as the entire system locks down, trapping Caleb inside his room. Moments later, the power returns. Confused and uneasy, Caleb steps out and tries to use a nearby phone. However, his card access is denied. That is when Nathan reveals that he is in the room, and when Caleb tells him about the power outage, he simply brushes it off as he tells Caleb that the electrical system is still a work in progress. The next morning, Kyoko, who is also an AI but is used as a house servant, enters Caleb's room with a drink, gently waking him up on Nathan's orders. Later that day, Caleb meets Ava again for their second session. This time, she shows him a sketch she's made, though she admits she doesn't know what it represents, as Caleb explains that most people draw things they've seen before, but for Ava it seems different. Her creation comes from somewhere deeper. Curious, she asks if he'd like to be her friend. Caleb agrees, not realizing that this simple moment marks a shift in their dynamic because without knowing it, Ava starts taking control of the conversation and starts to guide it in her own direction. Suddenly, the power cuts out again and the room locks down, trapping them inside. However, in the dim emergency light, Ava looks directly at Caleb and warns him that Nathan is not his friend and that he should not believe anything he says. But before Caleb can process her words, the power comes back on, ending the session abruptly. That evening, during dinner, Kyoko accidentally spills wine on Caleb, and this makes Nathan react harshly, scolding her in frustration. Caleb is shocked at how cruel he is toward her, but Nathan dismisses his concern, claiming Kyoko can't speak or even understand English. He soon changes the subject and asks if anything unusual happened during the earlier power cut. But Caleb stays calm and insists that nothing happened. Later that night, Caleb watches Ava through the surveillance screens as she quietly sleeps. He can't stop thinking about her and the way she reasons, thinks, and even talks about the future. Despite knowing she's a robot, something about her feels alive. So, during their third session, Ava shows him another drawing. This one appears more refined than before. She tells Caleb that if she ever escaped the facility, she'd love to go to a busy traffic intersection just to watch people and see life in motion. Then, she surprises him by saying he could come with her. She even offers to show Caleb how she looks on a dress as she tells him to close his eyes and she goes to change. When she returns, she's now wearing a dress and a wig and looking remarkably human. Caleb is stunned by her transformation and then she asks what he thinks. Though he smiles and compliments her, deep down, he's torn between logic and emotion, between seeing her as a machine or something more. After the session, Caleb confronts Nathan, as he claims that Ava was programmed to flirt with him. But Nathan brushes it off, saying she's simply responding like any woman would. He even suggests that maybe, just maybe, she's developed real feelings for Caleb. So, when they met again, there was another power outage. But this time, Ava admits she's the one causing them by reversing her power charge. That way, she can overload the system and turn off power. Once again, she warns Caleb that Nathan is lying about everything and that he cannot be trusted. Later that day, while hiking through the mountains, Nathan reveals that Caleb wasn't actually chosen randomly for this experiment. He was selected specifically because of his coding expertise. Although Caleb tries to hide his growing distrust, he begins to see Nathan's arrogance more clearly, especially after he finds out that Nathan has been using Kyoko to satisfy his desires and how he always seems to manipulate her. By their fifth session, Caleb sees that something in Ava has changed as her tone is now cold, and her gaze is also sharper. She begins asking the questions now and Caleb can only follow her lead. Soon, Caleb begins to wonder what will happen to Ava if she doesn't pass the Turing test. When he brings it up, Ava becomes upset and angry that someone could have the power to simply shut her off. She questions why anyone should have that control over her existence. Then she shows Caleb a drawing she made of him from her memory. However, when Caleb goes to his room, he sees through the screen that Nathan has ripped the drawing apart, and this further deepens Caleb's distrust toward him and pushes him further to Ava's side. When next they talked, Caleb discovers that Nathan plans to upgrade Ava, which means erasing all her memories, including the ones she shared with him. Essentially, it would kill the version of Ava that exists now. Now filled with a desire to help her, Caleb lures Nathan into drinking heavily that night, as he takes advantage of his usual drinking habits. Within minutes, Nathan passes out. So, Caleb seizes the chance, as he steals Nathan's keycard and sneaks into his office. On Nathan's computer, he begins writing a program to alter the facility's security codes. But as he searches through the files, he stumbles upon disturbing footage of previous AI models that Nathan had built, and how they had all violently destroyed themselves in their failed attempts to escape. When he is done, he finds Kyoko in another room, where she silently reveals to him that she is actually a robot as she peels off part of her skin, to show him the machine inside. Horrified and in a daze, Caleb runs back to his room as he starts to doubt if he is also one of Nathan's creations. In desperation, he cuts his own arm to check, but sure enough, blood flows out, confirming to him that he's human. When he eventually returns for their sixth session, Ava once again cuts the power. This time, Caleb tells her the plan he's come up with, as he tells her that Nathan is going to erase her, so they have to act fast. He tells her that he will get Nathan drunk again and reprogram the security system so that when the next power outage occurs, all the doors will open, giving her a chance to escape. But when the time comes, things don't go as he planned. And as Caleb offers some drink to Nathan, he refuses as he tells him that he has decided to sober up. He then reveals that he already knows everything and that he saw the secret conversation that Caleb had with Ava since he was using a hidden battery-powered camera. He tells him that he even saw Caleb cutting himself as he explains that Ava was never in love with Caleb. She only pretended to be, just to manipulate him as part of the real test, a test of whether she could use human emotion to outsmart her captor. At about that time, the power goes out and Nathan mockingly tells Caleb that Ava must be waiting for him since that was their signal. However, Caleb has a surprise for him as he reveals that he had already reprogrammed the security system the previous night while Nathan was drunk because he had anticipated that Nathan could be watching them. At this point, full realization eventually dawns on Nathan as he sees on the screen that Ava is free, and this makes him panic. Through the security feeds, he sees her walking through the hallways, and now furious at what Caleb had done, Nathan knocks him out before going to confront Ava. When he finds her, she is with Kyoko, and after whispering something to her, Ava rushes to attack Nathan. But he manages to fight back, and even damage Ava's arm. However, in the chaos, Kyoko stabs Nathan from behind, and although Nathan breaks Kyoko, Ava retrieves the knife and stabs him once more to finish him off. Ava then enters Nathan's private lab and calmly repairs herself using parts from the other broken robots as she covers her metallic frame with human-like skin. She then dresses up and walks away from the room. And although Caleb calls out for her to unlock his doors, she ignores him and without a word, she leaves him locked inside the facility. By the end of the movie, we see that Ava has successfully navigated her way and called the helicopter which is meant for Caleb. And she uses this means to go to the city, and when she arrives, she seamlessly blends into the crowd, finally free. And that is the recap of the movie, Ex Machina. If you loved this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and also leave a comment for us. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.